everyone, welcome back to Tent Tuesdays. So we're going to continue our conversation about authority. And so what I'm going to talk to you today to start out with is a very famous line. I know you know it. I get no respect. And the sad part is there's a lot of times where a lot of religious leaders feel this way. Like they get no respect from their congregants, just by their attitude and by the fact that they don't really listen to the things that they're telling them. And that's really unfortunate, but I want to kind of go through and explain what I think the problem is, what I think the issue is, and why this is happening. So number one, I think people have this misnomer, and I don't know where this even came from, but this idea that religious leaders don't matter, that we have Yeshua, he's our authority, and we don't have to listen to any man, and this kind of ridiculous conversations. So if that's really the truth, then explain to me why one of the gifts God gave is leadership. If nobody is supposed to lead, then why would you even need that? Because that idea is complete and total nonsense. We all need leaders. We all need people to help make final decisions based off of the things that they see. You know, listen, husbands lead their wives, which is why they get the final say, biblically. Now, are we going to say that they shouldn't have the final say and disrupt the whole order? And then we wonder why there's a, 50% divorce rate in this country, even amongst people who are believers. Because people don't seem to understand how important authority is, and they're constantly bucking the authority around them. So, yes, I understand that there are definitely authorities in this world that are not holy, not righteous, not godly. But that's not what I'm talking to you about today. I'm talking to you about people who have a gift and a calling to be a pastor, to be a leader, to be someone in a community who is trying to help you succeed in your relationship with God. Why is there so much resistance? Frankly, this is a rebellious spirit that has been pervasive since the dawn of time and Adam and Eve. And I'm not going to get into that too much today. But what I want to talk to you about is this. Come with me to Exodus. Exodus 18:21 through 23. This is the scene in which Yitro, which is Moses' father-in-law, is basically instructing him that he can't do everything himself. That everything can't rest upon him. He needs people to help him lead. So here's what it says. Moreover, you shall elect from the people able men such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, rulers of tens, and let them judge the people at all times. Then it will be that every great matter that they shall bring to you, but every small matter they themselves shall judge. So it will be easier for you, for they will bear the burden with you. If you do this thing, and God so commands you, then you will be able to endure, and all this people will go to their place in peace. Now, this seems like a very obvious common sense thing to do. One person can't handle everything. That's why there's delegation of authority, okay? That's what's important here. So Moses delegates to righteous people, righteous men, to help them lead the family groups that are in front of them. Okay. Now, today, our legal system works exactly the same way. We have people who are at the municipal levels, then we have people who are at the federal levels, then we have people who are in the Supreme Court who make the ultimate decisions, kind of like Moses, so to speak, right? Who make the ultimate decisions for the land. We have this same system. Well, here's the truth. The religious system has the same hierarchy. You may have different pastors and leaders from different communities, but when someone graduates, let's say school, rabbi school, pastor school, whatever, they should have someone above them within their denomination who helps them minister to their people, do the things that they have to do, whatever. And that pastor has someone above him. And it goes on and on and on until you get to the quote unquote Moseses of today. That's how all leadership works. That's how all government works. That's how it has always worked. Why some people seem to think that Yeshua came and he just destroyed all the leadership, it just makes absolutely no sense. So let's just scratch that from our brains just right now, okay? Because it's complete nonsense. It doesn't in any way line up with anything in the Word of God. There has always been leaders. There will always be leaders. Till the Messiah returns, there will always be leaders, okay? Amen. So how do we deal with these leaders? That's the question. Let me tell you how I look and how I see church leadership today. Basically, congregants walk into churches and they listen to the pastor and they come a few times and they see if they like the person and if they like how they teach and preach and whatever. And then they basically decide, do I want to stay in this congregation, yes or no? Well, let's just say they decide yes. Then all of a sudden the pastor says something they don't like, they don't agree with, whatever. Then they pick themselves up, they go somewhere else. Well, then they listen to that pastor and they like him for a while, and well, you know what? Now they don't like him anymore, and then they get up and they go to another place. And that's what I see today within a lot of churches, even Messianic congregations. My husband and I have had people who have bounced around from place to place to place because they're not happy wherever they go. For some reason or another, they're discontented. And here's the bottom line. These people, what they really want is not authority. They don't want leaders. What they want is to be themselves a leader. So they're going to search all over town till they find the person who will agree with exactly what they think, and that's the person they will submit to. So are they really submitting to leadership or authority? No. They're really submitting to themselves. They're making themselves leaders. That's ultimately what they're doing. And it's real sad, and it frankly should never get done. And it's just not kosher at all. Okay? And there are definitely places within Judaism in which this kind of mindset is prevented from happening, but that doesn't really go on too much in the Christian world. So let me explain to you a little bit of the differences. If we come to the Bible days with Yeshua, we remember that Yeshua went all throughout the land of Israel and he chose his disciples. And he said, hey, do you want to come with me? Do you want to learn with me? And they said, yes, we will go with you. What happens today is congregants go to churches and they choose the pastor. Whereas in the Bible days, that is true of what happened. Someone who may want to go to a particular rabbinical school or whatever would go to the rabbi and say, hey, can I be a student of yours? Well, then there would be an evaluation process, and the student would go through their evaluation process, and then the rabbi would determine whether they wanted to teach them or invite them into their school. That's how it would work. So let me explain it to you like this, and maybe this will make some kind of sense, hopefully. The Christian system works like public schools. Anybody can come, there's no restrictions, whatever. The pastor will teach whoever walks in the door. Jewish system works by membership. However you want to term this, because there's many different terms for membership. But anyway, the student comes, wants to learn under the teacher. The teacher evaluates the student and decides whether or not they will teach them. If they say no, that student will go on to his second choice and his third choice and so on. And no matter what rabbi he chooses and that the rabbi chooses them, they are now in a symbiotic relationship. There is a covenant, a contract made between the two parties. I chose you, you chose me. It is now kind of like a marriage of sorts. We are both agreeing to say I do, to walk together. But make no mistake, the rabbi is the husband. They decide the ultimate of everything, not the student. That should make obvious sense to everybody, but yet somehow it just doesn't. So what we see going on in the Christian world especially is people bouncing around from place to place to place to place to place because they're the only ones who are making the choice and making the decisions. This is a problem. You come to a certain place, you move to a country. You need to sit under that president, that leadership, whoever's running that country. When you sign your name to that citizenship document, you are agreeing. You are in agreement. You are in a symbiotic relationship between you and the country you've come to. Why is this so hard to understand within a religious context? This is why our congregation really believes strongly in membership. But how I understand this biblically is that membership is important, not just because I understand that we believe the same things, but because we are now going to walk together to live it out. I'm going to help to train you and grow you up in the Lord. That's important. That is extremely important. So I need to know that the person I'm choosing has a teachable spirit, is submissive, wants to learn, wants to grow. That's important for me as a teacher to know about a student. Because I'm not going to be someone who's casting my pearls before swine. So come with me to the book of Hebrews 13:17, which says, "Obey those who rule over you and be submissive, for they watch out for your souls, as those who must give account. Let them do so with joy and not with grief, for that would be unprofitable for you." This is such an important verse because, number one, it very clearly says to be obedient and submissive to your leaders. But look how the writer of Hebrews adds something else to this. That not just so you be submissive to your leaders, but part of the reason for that is so you don't give them grief. Good grief, as Charlie Brown would say. This is really important because your leader wants to be able to do what he has been called to do by the Lord, or she. To do whatever God is calling them to do. How difficult is it when every time you turn around, every different student is rebelling in your school? How can you function like this? You cannot. And what ends up happening is the leader doesn't end up leading with joy within their hearts. It becomes a burden for them they don't want to bear. And that is such a sad thing that anybody should make their leader feel so bad within them because you constantly don't listen to anything that they tell you, that they are looking at themselves and saying, why am I teaching you? And there are so many leaders all over the world, like I was talking to you about yesterday briefly, about burnout. Burnout is a very real thing within clergy. It is a very real thing. And so many people leave the pastor, leave being a rabbi because they cannot handle the constant arguing and the frustrations and the whatever, because what they're doing isn't being done in joy, because there's no respect for the leadership anymore. And it's so sad. So Hebrews makes it clear that if you do this, it will not be profitable for you. So many times people come to leaders and they're like, hey, I want God's blessing over my life. I need this and I need that and I need the other thing. And your leadership gives you good counsel. And you don't take the good counsel. And then you wonder why it's not profitable for you. That's their job. Their job is to make judgments. Just like Moses appointed those leaders, their job is to judge you in all things because God commands them to give an account, because they're the ones who are trying to help to lead your souls in the ways of righteousness, in the ways everlasting. Understand that the hefty responsibility that is there. That if you are obedient to someone who is a leader, who is godly, okay, I'm not saying someone who isn't, who is godly, that God is going to bless you because of that. Even if the leader is wrong. Because the Lord knows He respects authority. And He values that. He values what people say with their mouths. It is very important to be obedient. Come with me to 1 Thessalonians 5. 12 through 13 says, "And we urge you, brethren, to recognize those who labor among you and are over you in the Lord and admonish you, and to esteem them very highly. in love for their work's sake, be at peace amongst yourselves. So when I asked you in the beginning, I get no respect, and I was making a joke here, but it really is true that the way people look at religious leadership today is they don't esteem them highly. And I know that there has been some scandals and some drama that has happened, especially in the past recent years, which is so deeply saddening and burdens the heart of God so much to see this kind of stuff besmirch the reputation of God and of his leadership. But if you know you're sitting under godly authority, this does not apply to you. Show respect. Please understand that when your leaders are giving you advice in the Lord, they're not giving you suggestions. They're giving you commands, because that's their responsibility. They're there to judge the situation rightly before God and to give you wise and good counsel. Okay? Please do not be like the people who go from place to place to place, who think, I'm going to take this leader or that leader's opinion as long as it agrees with me. Because the truth is, when people come into one congregation, they have this same attitude. Well, I'll listen to this that the rabbi says, but I won't listen to that and that and that and that and that and that and that. So who's leading? You or them? Now, does that mean that I'm saying to you that you have no will, or that, you're just some kind of mindless drones that come to the congregation? No, I'm not saying that to you at all. But what I am saying to you is that you must esteem the advice that they give you highly. That you must weigh it very, very carefully. That in some cases you may recognize, as it is the rabbi's job to study the Word of God, to know it and to apply it, that sometimes you may even recognize that because you work and you do other kinds of jobs, you don't have the same time to devote to the Lord as they are doing. So recognize that maybe they're more studied in this subject than you are. Maybe God is giving them insight in a different way than you are. Maybe their perspective, as I was saying to you yesterday, is higher than yours. Show respect. Submit yourself. It doesn't mean that your leaders are always going to be right. I can guarantee you they are not always going to be right. But I can promise you that if you submit yourself to the leadership around you, that God will see that and he will honor that. There's no perfect leadership. There's no perfect husband. It just doesn't exist. Okay? We're all human. But when we submit as God has commanded us to do, then we are blessed. It is profitable for us. It is peaceable for us. So please don't make someone else's calling and gift a burden for them so much that it becomes grief. I think about Moses so many times when the people rebelled and they were constantly complaining. And, we read those stories in the Bible and we think, oh, how horrible are they? Those people so mean to Moses. But the truth is, we're all this way and we do it all the time to our leaders all the time. Why don't we have this? Why aren't we doing that program? Why isn't such and such going on? Let's be honest about it. Let's be honest. I'm certainly guilty many times of this. And so I'm really trying to admonish you to help you to understand that good biblical leadership and authority between a disciple and the rabbi and the leader is symbiotic. It is a marriage type of relationship. And while your opinions are valued and they should be taken into account, always. The rabbis say many times, lean down and take your wife's advice. Lean down and listen to your wife. Give her your ear. There's a reality to that. But at the end of the day, when the husband makes a decision, he makes a decision. When the religious authority makes a decision, they make a decision. You have to respect that, because that's part of their charge, because they will give account to the Lord, because they are there to watch over your souls. So please understand the responsibility that is before them. It doesn't make them perfect, but it does mean that you will be blessed through your obedience, just like we are blessed for our obedience to the Lord. So unless they are telling you to do something that is completely anti-biblical, listen to the leaders in your midst. Please understand that they are not giving you suggestions to put in your box for later. They are helping to give rulings upon your life. And I feel like somewhere throughout the thousands of years of history, this has somehow gotten lost. That the responsibility upon leaders is great. And they are there to help make rulings for your lives in a spiritual context. There is not one thing in this world that God doesn't touch. There's not one aspect of our lives that doesn't need His counsel. So when you have leaders in your midst who are operating in these gifts, who are asking the Lord to help them to be able to lead you rightly, please regard them highly. Please give them the respect that they deserve. And please listen to the things that they are telling you. Weigh them carefully with your own choices, and sometimes even above your own. We cannot cherry pick with the Bible which laws we like and which laws we don't. Now, we have different things that we're working on at different times, for sure. But I'm going to say the same thing to you with your leaders. With the religious leader who's over you. Are you cherry picking? Be honest with yourself. Are you cherry picking when they give you different rulings? When they say things to you and they try to give you good counsel? Are you cherry picking? I like this message this day, but I don't like this over here. Be honest with yourself. This is not an easy charge I'm giving you, and I know that. It's not easy to bow, to submit yourself. It is not an easy thing. If it was, there wouldn't be so many Bible verses about authority, and there wouldn't be so many Bible verses about humility. There just wouldn't be. Because it's not easy. We all want to do it our own way. But the Bible makes it clear that doing what is right in your own sight is not a good thing. God has given us leaders for a reason, and we need to be obedient to the things that they say. Trust that your leaders have leaders above them that they are submitting to, hopefully, and that they recognize that there is a hierarchy there through many years of education, experience, wisdom, and most importantly, power from on high. So please trust in the anointings and the giftings that God has placed within your midst. Choose your leader wisely, and if they agree to allow you to be their student, please recognize your responsibility in that partnership. So I love you guys. God bless you. I hope everything I said has been life and peace and blessing to you. That I haven't said anything in error, but I really hope that this ministers to you, and I really hope that it helps you to have a better relationship with your religious leader. So God bless you. Tomorrow we will go to Hebrew Word Wednesdays. I know you guys love your word of the week. So I'll see you tomorrow, and have a wonderful Tuesday. God bless.